husband planned to dump me on a secret trip with his work girlfriend, so I exposed them at a company party in front of their entire department. My husband James started mentioning Melody from accounting about 6 months ago. Just little things at first, like Melody brought donuts for the team, or Melody had a funny story about her weekend. Then it became Melody understood his spreadsheet system better than anyone, and Melody always laughed at his jokes that I'd apparently stopped finding funny. When I asked to meet this Melody at the company picnic, James said she couldn't make it because of family obligations, but his coworker Tony mentioned she was there the whole time, just in a different area whenever I came near. James said Tony was confused. Melody started texting James about work emergencies every evening. He'd have to call her back immediately to solve critical accounting problems that couldn't wait until morning. These calls would last an hour with James laughing and chatting while our dinner got cold. When I complained, he said I was being controlling and Melody was just a colleague who happened to be female. He said I was insecure and sexist for thinking men and women couldn't be friends. The late night work sessions started next. James would come home at 10 saying Melody needed help with quarterly reports. His shirts would smell like her perfume, which he said was just from sharing an office. He'd have lipstick on his collar that he claimed was from Melody hugging him goodbye after she got emotional about work stress. When I suggested he was having an affair, James got angry and said Melody was happily married with 3 kids and how dare I accuse him of something so low. Then came the business trip to Dallas. James said it was just him and Melody because they were the only ones qualified for this client. I checked the company website and saw 4 other people from accounting were also going. When I confronted James, he said those people were going to a different meeting, and it would basically be just him and Melody for most events. He promised nothing would happen because, again, Melody was married and so was he. While James was in Dallas, I decided to do something about this situation. I looked up Melody on the company directory and found her emergency contact was her husband Paul. I called Paul and introduced myself as James's wife, saying I wanted to discuss our spouse's work relationship. Paul went silent, then said he thought Melody was traveling with a team of women from her department. I told him it was mostly just her and James. Paul said Melody had told him James was gay. I said we'd been married 8 years and had 2 kids. Paul asked if James had ever mentioned him and I said no. James said Melody never talked about her personal life. Paul said that was interesting since Melody talked about James constantly, how brilliant he was, how underappreciated, how his wife didn't understand his potential. Paul and I decided to compare notes. Melody had told Paul she needed new work clothes because of important presentations, but she'd been buying lingerie. James had told me he was eating dinner at his desk, but his credit card showed charges at expensive restaurants. Melody claimed she was staying with her sister in Dallas, but Paul's sister lived in Houston. James said the company was paying for everything, but our statement showed he'd paid for 2 hotel rooms. 2 rooms, not 1. Paul called the hotel in Dallas and confirmed the rooms were next to each other with an adjoining door. We both knew what was happening but needed proof. Paul had access to Melody's work laptop because she'd given him the password for emergencies. He found messages between Melody and James that were definitely not about accounting. They called each other work husband and work wife, discussed how their real spouses were obstacles, and planned their Dallas trip as a test run for their future together. One message from James said he was going to ask for a divorce after Dallas. Melody replied she'd do the same if this trip went well. Paul screenshot everything and sent it to me. Then we made a plan. When James and Melody returned from Dallas, there was a welcome home party at the office. Paul and I had arranged it with their boss, saying we wanted to celebrate the successful client meeting. James and Melody walked in together, practically glowing, to find Paul and me standing with their entire department and HR. Their boss asked how the client meeting went, and James started stammering about successful negotiations. Paul asked which client, and Melody said she couldn't discuss it. Their boss said that was strange since no client meeting had been scheduled, and they both called in sick for Dallas. HR pulled them into separate rooms. James broke immediately, admitting to the affair, but saying it was love. Melody tried denying it until Paul showed her own messages on the production screen in the conference room. They were both fired for lying about sick leave and misusing company funds for personal travel. James came home to find his belongings in the garage. Melody found the same at her house. They tried moving in together but couldn't afford rent without jobs. Last I heard, they were both living with their parents.